Hi everyone, it's Monday at the Mystical Magical Mansion. Welcome. If this is the first time you're tuning in, my name is Kim and my husband Ryan and I bought an old 1910 mansion here in Omaha, Nebraska in a historic neighborhood called the Gold Coast neighborhood. And each week we share a little bit about our restoration of the house, our DIY projects, and it's just a little bit of information and history, and also a little bit about our family every week. So this week, for this episode, I have to tell you how the story all began. So we have been in contact with some relatives, some people actually who grew up here as children in this home. And one of them sent me a message saying, I can't remember if this is a real story or not, but I think there's a tunnel to the neighbor's house from your house. She's like, I don't know if it's real or if I imagined it. And so that's where the story all begins. I am currently standing in my hallway. Some of you may have seen this. It's a little hallway off the kitchen that has the door to the basement. There's a coat closet. There's a door behind me. And so this little nook of a hallway is actually a very main thoroughfare in the house, even though it's quite small. And it leads down to the basement. So I thought we need to look a little bit closer to see if there's any old place that there could potentially be a tunnel or something that we missed. It doesn't show up on the blueprints because we do have the original blueprints to the house, but I'm going to show you around the basement, which is actually pretty great because most of these old homes that we looked at, or historic homes that we looked at, the basement was scary. It was very dated and dirty and smelly and smelled wet and it was kind of gross, and so ours isn't, but there's some pretty cool things about it. So I'm going to show you the basement and just show you some of the really neat aspects about it, and then we're going to talk more about this possible tunnel or this possible connection to the neighbor's house. So let's head downstairs and take a look. So here's a super fun fact as we're heading downstairs. If you look at the width of these doors on camera, they don't look too bad, but look, first of all, height-wise, very low, very small, and they're also very narrow. So things that one would need to get in a basement or move things through, absolutely impossible because the doors are all small and narrow in here. So we had a crazy time trying to get appliances, different things in here, but we made it work. But here we go. So we're gonna head down to the basement. Gonna unlock the latch. And of course hit our push button switches out here. Here we go. So as we head down the steps, it doesn't look too bad. It smells like incense down here, which is pretty great. So it's got nice solid brick walls. And when we look on the blueprints, there's doors to all kinds of different areas, but they really did make an effort to have windows and ventilation on the interior because most of this was used for laundry, storing of vegetables, and for obviously the boiler. We have a little sign on our door that says boiler room. So this is sort of like the landing area where you come down from the stairs. But as you notice, it's really not too murdery, not too bad. We've got an old set of horn rack up there, and then this goes into sort of the family room area. So this is the lounge area. We're coming up to the sign where we have announcing that it's the lounge, compliments of my husband's decor ideas. And then we come into this big long room. It's actually very, very long, and it goes from one full end of or the width of the house. So it goes this direction. There's storage back behind those velvet curtains, and we've got just a nice ping pong table area, some darts. This is just where the family comes to hang out and do just a little fun recreational stuff. But the walls are solid, so as we're thinking about this mystery about a tunnel or possible tunnel that existed, I can't see anything in this room that would tell us that there would be one. And when we come down to this end, there is actually just storage. A very decent putting green here to work on our putting. Got an old vintage record player down here. Actually, it's new, it just looks vintage. Popcorn popper. And we come and look back here. This is just a little storage area, but it's all solid too. I don't see any way or place that there could be any entrance to anything from back here. And we actually, well, my husband found these cool things. They're just like a big, it's not really a poster. It's kind of almost like a tarp, but it's printed, so it looks like an old speakeasy bar. Isn't that cool? So it just kind of dolls the room up a little bit. There is one other area that I think is really amazing in this house. And for historical purposes, this is the Dixon House. It was built by Ephraim Dixon in 1910. But there really is still an old wine cellar in here. Oh, gotta find the string. Boop. Yeah, this is the original wine cellar. It is all still in perfect condition. Nice temperature controlled room where you can keep your wine stored. And the real tragedy in this is we're not really wine connoisseurs. I mean, I don't mind wine, but I'm definitely not a wine aficionado by any stretch of the imagination. But these are all the original racks and everything that's been here. The Dixons did love, appreciate, and collect wine. So we know that just from some old history information that we have. And they did quite a bit of entertaining. So this is the wine cellar. And it's got a cement floor, so it's not a dirt floor. It's not anything yucky. So this wine cellar is one of the really cool details that we found when we looked at the house, and we're surprised at how clean it was and how perfect it was, and also that it didn't smell musty. I mean, I think that's always one of those things that when you go in old basements, they smell really, really musty. So I think that is just one of the many reasons that we were so excited about getting this house. So as we continue to look down here in the basement, so on the original blueprints, this long, narrow room was called the drying room. So this is where the maids, the laundresses, would hang the laundry inside to dry. I know there were clotheslines in the back, so I'm not sure exactly why they had this room. It's such a big room to dry things, but maybe they didn't have, the ability to dry it outside all the time, or maybe for in the winter, I'm not exactly sure about that, or maybe I don't know, maybe they didn't want their unmentionables outside. So as we come into this main area, there's a nice cement floor, everything's clean, and I'll take you into the boiler room. It's very, very boilery. Let's turn on the light in here. Still a push button switch. So this monstrous beast is the boiler that was replaced a few years ago. I think about 6 or 7 years ago, perhaps. Thank goodness, because some of the old houses that we looked at, the historic homes, had the original boilers, and they were scary. And if you look at all of these pipes, it's really very, very intimidating. But the boiler heat and everything has been really surprisingly wonderful. So this is just sort of a look. There's an old workbench down here with just some tools. And we use this area mostly just for storage. The ceiling is somewhat finished and closed in. But if we come and look all of the corners, which again, we go back to this mystery of potentially a tunnel or a hole, we look at all of these windows. Let's see, do we have another light down here? We do. Okay, so we've got closed corners. Those are the old coal chutes, so they have covers over them. So coal would have been delivered here to drop down in this area so that you could use it for the boiler. That corner is closed, and that corner is closed. So I don't really see anything potentially from this area that could be a tunnel out of here. And we also down here in the basement have two rooms sort of side by side. You can see them behind me, side by side in this area, that were on the blueprints called the root cellar and the vegetable cellar, and then there was another like storage cellar. So this is where they would have put all of their foods to stay cool. They didn't have refrigerators. They would have had ice boxes in 1910. And I believe that they had one upstairs, but this would have been where they would store their food just so things would last a little bit longer. So as we open the door, it's just a small room with some shelves in it. So this is just some storage, but lots of hooks up in the ceiling still. Those are plaster ceilings that were closed, so nothing new. And then there's these interesting little doors up here which do open to the outside, and I don't know if those were for ventilation, to open that to let a little cool air in, or to just get some air circulating. I'm not sure, but there's definitely not anything connected to anything in here. Just lots of paint for lots of projects. And then we come over here, there's another room just like it on this side. And then there's a long exterior hallway that goes to the outside. It's got all the brick walls. And if you look, this is kind of neat. These were they would have been glass back in the day. So this was the laundry room. And so one really neat thing is the old existing laundry sink is still here. It's still perfectly intact. It is heavy. And the fixtures are still on here. It's not working at the moment, and it does look rather stained and kind of yucky, but I really want to try and get this back in working order. That is a goal of mine, is to get this back in a happy place. It's still got, the pipes hooked up kind of close to it, and it's close to the main drain, so hopefully we can make that happen. Another really cool thing we have, another really neat piece of history down here in this little time capsule in the basement, is this old gas stove. And it is hooked up, and I believe it still works, but I just have never been brave enough to trust to try it. It's got the old handle on there. The brand says Prosperity, but yeah, it is an old gas stove. Still in perfect condition. Well, semi-perfect condition. But if we look, no places for any kind of tunnel or connection to anywhere else. If we look up here, that's where the old chimney would have been. There would have been a heat stove or a cook stove down here for them to boil water. Heat and the fire and everything going down here to do the laundry must have been really hot. So they had these nice big windows. And then back here, there's a little ventilation hatch thing, which goes nowhere because I've checked that. And then this is just a storage closet. And we have boxes of just bits and bobs and latches and just old pieces of hardware from the house. And if you look at these, are old window latches. This is old soap dish, old things that would have been in the bathrooms upstairs that have been taken out. There's an old soap dish too. Aren't those pretty? They're still here, but I'm really glad that they're still here. This is really the only kind of cool looking piece of something that was down here on the shelf, this old bottle of bleaching water. So there's just a super old bottle of bleach in a brown bottle. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I just like the label. I think it's very nifty. Looks very old. And I love that the doors still have the old glass in them, like it's still intact. It's really neat that just these little things are still there after 110 years. It's kind of just amazing. I don't know if you can hear this in the background, but I'm out on our back porch and you can kind of start to hear the locusts. Just started singing in the last day or two, so I guess frost and fall are on the way. So we do have a big carriage house behind us, and we do have the blueprints for that, but nowhere on the blueprints does it say anything about a tunnel or a shelter or anything else. So next week we will see if we can figure out what the heck this whole story is all about, because we did find a hole in the garage. So you get to see the basement this week. We've tried to narrow down all the possibilities, and so next week we're going to go down a little deeper and dig a little further to see if we can figure out the mystery of the hole or the tunnel. So thank you so much for tuning in and following along on our journey. If you have not hit the like or the subscribe button below, please do that. And if you have questions or something you'd like to see or know about, please let us know. We love answering your questions, and we've made so many connections and new friends just from all of the adventures here at the mystical, magical mansion. So as always, this week, get out your good dishes, get out your best wine, go get it out of your wine cellar. Don't save things for special occasions. You never know, and you know what? We deserve the good stuff. So this week, I want you to do the most unapologetically fancy things Wear your best dress, wear your pearls, wear your diamonds, whatever you have. Whatever makes you feel super fancy, I want you to do it. Because unapologetically fancy is a movement. We are doing it. It is happening. It is a thing. So take good care, and I will see you next week. Best wishes from the mystical, magical mansion.